as we know, is it's a biological need. We all need to have sleep. As we know, sleeping it's basically a process that happens inside your body. So it's really important to practice being aware of when your body is getting ready to go to sleep. So if you notice, it usually happens for you like around 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. That's just your circadian rhythm and your melatonin kind of spiking up a little bit higher. Melatonin levels are a little bit higher at different times for most people, but most time, I believe it's between 9 and 11 or 9 and midnight or what that time. That's the times that you should be like kind of winding down and going through like your sleep routine. So it's not just like a made up thing, like the circadian rhythm is like, the practice for, foo-foo-ness like that I do, in this whole world is actually a real thing. Being very aware of your circadian rhythm patterns is actually crucial to this whole sleep process. And so I'll tap into that in a second. Foods to avoid, the obvious, caffeine and sugar. And when you consume it later on in the day, the caffeine has this, I'll call it an ingredient, but it's not even like a hormone, but it has like this thing in it that actually causes like your heart rate to beat a little bit faster. So it's not your normal heart rate. So when your normal heart rate is not relaxed, it kind of like suppresses the whole entire sleep pattern. So if you're taking caffeine at night or workout drinks or whatever that you're doing at night and you're increasing your heart rate, it doesn't give your body a chance to like really relax. In a sense, if you think about it and your heart rate is not at its relaxed, your brain might be sleeping, but your body's not resting. So sugar has that same kind of effect. So it can kind of wake you up in the middle of the night, or it can make it difficult for you to fall into the deep sleep. If you're not getting into the REM sleep, you might just want to take a look at, if you're not dreaming, if you realize that you're not dreaming, that means you're probably not hitting the REM cycle. Or if you're waking up before the REM cycle, you might wake up and then go to the bathroom. It's because your body is not relaxed enough and your brain is not allowing you enough relaxed time to get to the REM cycle, which is the rapid eye movement. Now, alcohol, a lot of people are like, oh, let's have a nightcap, right? It might actually relax you enough to put you to sleep, but alcohol in turn has like an opposite effect where it can wake you up and have a lot of interrupted sleep through the night, because it does kind of like dilate your blood vessels and all these other things are happening inside your body where you're not completely relaxed to where you need to be. Spicy and acidic foods like citrus and tomatoes, those can cause, so it's just being careful with what you eat too close to bedtime can keep you from falling asleep. So spicy and acidic foods are two of the things that can cause that, in addition to interrupting with digestion, mucus. And so the mucus in your airways can cause like, this rumbling in your throat and you're not sleeping like well because your breathing is interrupted. If you go to bed and you have a little bit of like, you feel like you need to take the antacid, the one you drop in the water or whatever, you ate too much. You shouldn't eat like that too close to bed. Alka-Seltzer, that's what it's called. If you feel like you need to have an Alka-Seltzer before you go to bed, you ate too much. You need to avoid that. That is like the digestion problems that can help you, can prevent you from falling asleep. And, you're not going to get to the rest and digest like you feel like you need to as well. So now let's talk about some of the good foods that will help you. Seeds, here's why. Because walnuts have a high amount of melatonin in them, so it increases your body's melatonin levels. So if you have a couple walnuts, no, we're not talking a lot of walnuts, because remember, nuts especially are kind of like a high fat food. And so when you're eating a lot of high fat foods too close to bedtime, it can interrupt with that digestion, like we just talked about. So walnuts have a really good amount of melatonin, but they also have a lot of fat. So just a couple is all you need. You don't need a big bag of walnuts. That's not going to work. So beans also have a natural source of melatonin in them, especially soybeans. And legumes also have a source of tryptophan in it. So if you're eating dinner at nighttime, if you have like beans and legumes, just, within an adequate amount, then just know that it has like some tryptophan and some, the melatonin. Kiwi and cherries. And here's why kiwi and cherries are on the list. It's because it helps reduce inflammation. And so it proves some people sleeping if they don't feel like they have throbbing inflammation a lot in their joint. So dark leafy greens. Okay, so they're packed with micronutrients. That's what it is. And they help promote sleep because it has like the tryptophan, potassium, magnesium. So magnesium is another thing that dark leafy greens have in them. With whole grains also have a good source of magnesium, and that binds your GABA receptors. And so your GABA receptors are the receptors in your brain. and it works as a muscle relaxant. So it's okay to have some whole grains at nighttime. Tea is my most out of everything on here, it is my highest recommendation because tea, again, is warm. Maybe it has something to do with the warmth, but chamomile, peppermint, lavender, lemon balm, and passion fruit, they help reduce inflammation and anxiety. So they have a lot of the ingredients in it that really just like calms your nerves, and it acts as like a natural sedative. In the situation for sleep would be to try to do a chamomile or a lavender or lemon balm, because it is kind of doing like its own, instead of like, taking a ZQuil or something, try to do something a little bit more natural, because these all have like natural sedatives in them. Passion flower tea was studied to be just as effective as an Ambien. So, I mean, the thing is you have to remember to try to go holistic first. You go to the doctor and you're like, I'm not sleeping good at night. The first thing that the doctor is going to do is they're going to give you a prescription for Ambien or a sleep medicine, because that's what doctors do. And they feel like you're paying me for my service. And if I'm going to tell you to go drink tea, they're going to be like, that's not really effective. But there is a study, and I can send it to you if you want, that passion flower tea works just as good as Ambien without all the side effects of Ambien. The plant-based milk, if you're warming it up, maybe this is why, Zach, because in here, when you warm up the milk, it produces a tryptophan, which helps induce sleep, because it basically brings out the B vitamins, like especially the B12 and the B6, and it helps promote good sleep patterns. So plant-based milk has the B vitamins in it. Is staying hydrated. So if you're staying hydrated at night, it actually, being hydrated, as we talked about, is just good for your overall health anyways, but staying hydrated through the day and then kind of like weaning off your water at night is the better choice. So those are some foods. And another thing that you have to remember, probably the key to sleep, is your sleep routine, especially for people that suffer from having a hard time falling asleep and they feel like they need to fall asleep to the TV. The blue light actually puts a cap on your melatonin levels. And so, it's not really the best thing for you to do. Sleep routine that you just created yourself for 4 days straight, and maybe having a little bit of a harder time falling asleep for the first 4 days, but then by the 5th day, 6th day, 7th day, and then for the rest of your life, if you have that same routine and your melatonin is the strongest at 9 p.m. at night, your body will know that it's time to go to sleep and it'll be prepared to go to sleep. But you have to do that same process. So having that sleep routine and following it religiously is going to help you. And I know it's going to suck in the beginning. And trust me when I tell you, when somebody's going off of 4 and 5 hours of sleep, they're going to be like, I wish I never did that. So tonight I'm not going to do it again. Right? And that's why people don't have a sleep routine, because it sucks in the beginning.